So the catecholamines were part of the broader monoamine family. So are the indolamines. Indolamines, serotonin, and melatonin. By far, we're going to talk about serotonin. Melatonin is made from serotonin and is predominantly about regulating your bio clock. And we'll talk about that in the sleep and bio clock lectures. The serotonin is a neuromodulatory neurotransmitter, meaning it regulates. It doesn't simply increase or decrease things, but it keeps mainly these three functions in a healthy range. Okay, just a regular healthy range. Same with appetite, healthy range. Same with sleep wake. Now, serotonin begins as one of the nine essential amino acids, tryptophan. Tryptophan is converted into 5-HTP, which is then converted into 5-HT, which is serotonin. Serotonin goes by three names: 5-hydroxytryptamine, 5-HT for short, and then serotonin. Again, you eat this, gets converted by this enzyme, tryptophan hydroxylase, into 5-hydroxytryptophan, which then gets converted into 5-hydroxytryptamine. The way I remembered, especially these two are easy to trip. The 5-HTP happens to help us. The P is not for precursor, it's for the fan. But it can help you if you think of it as 5-HT precursor. And 5-HT, which is 5-hydroxytryptamine, is serotonin. So anyway, I remember it as fan, and then amine. But use whatever mnemonic works for you. These three, as anyone who's tasted the shadow of depression will tell you, are the three main symptoms of depression. There are other important ones, of course, but these certainly are the biggies. As a reflection of the modulatory nature of serotonin, in mood disorders, in mania, mood is abnormally elevated. In depression, it's abnormally suppressed. In mood disorders, some people eat a lot, other people lose weight. Some people who are depressed sleep all day, others have insomnia. And the treatments have side effects like might make your mood very bad, either abnormally elevated or it might make depression worse. The medications might make you gain weight or they might make you lose weight. You might sleep more, you might have trouble sleeping. The problem and the cure reflect the same thing, that serotonin is regulating. That's why both disruptions in it and treatment response can be unpredictable. For example, I have no problem sharing with you that I have a history of depression and I take a medicine for it. And even though I haven't had an episode in 10 years, I still take it just preventatively. Now, when I get depressed or when I have mood issues, this is David. I'm down, I don't eat, and I sleep all day. For me, the medicines made me gain weight, sleep less, and have improved mood. You can't necessarily predict outcome from the symptoms, but your doctor will try. Because one set of drugs might do this, the other set might do the opposite, and you just have to search. It's again all a reflection of the modulatory nature of serotonin. And also, to be frank, it's also a reflection of just how new brain sciences are. Because a lot of this should, you should not be satisfied with this. We should be, and we are, trust me, searching for a better understanding of why it can go either way. Because I, I highly doubt it's randomness, and why treatment response can be so varied as well. Now, all of the serotonin in your nervous system is produced in the raphe nuclei, these little clusters of neurons together called the raphe nuclei. Again, given how important the neurotransmitter is, surprising how few neurons produce it. Some drugs that affect the serotonin system, Prozac, inhibits the reuptake of serotonin, thereby increasing it in the synapse, buying us more serotonin signal without having to do much work. MDMA, or ecstasy, is an interesting drug. It is certainly a serotonin agonist, but it is also a dopamine agonist. This drug has one foot in the methamphetamine world and one foot in the psychedelic world, and that gives it very interesting properties. But if I had to warn you against one drug in particular that you might not know to be warned about, is this one. Be careful. This is highly excitotoxic. Particularly, I'm hearing scary things like people taking very high doses or multiple doses in one night or multiple days in a row. This absolutely hammers your raphe nuclei. And there's only so much hammering they can take. I can't predict, but you can probably assume a dose response, a relationship between amount of use and amount of damage. Now, additionally and interestingly, all of the psychedelic drugs are serotonin agonists. This is, LSD, psilocybin, BIN. Huh? What else? DMT, mescaline. These drugs are different in a lot of ways. They tend to be non-addictive and can be potentially highly therapeutic. Oop. Including this puppy up here. Psilocybin has really great potential for treating things like end of life issues. There's reports of it helping a kind of crushing headache known as cluster headaches. And just generally, those who are proponents of this, the general saying is that it speeds up therapy. So these chemicals used in a therapeutic way have potential to treat very difficult to treat conditions and life situations like terminal illness, drug addiction, and so on. Let's do a brief history of antidepressants. Beginning back with the tricyclic antidepressants, these were effective at treating depression for the first time, except for cocaine, which is antidepressant for about 15 minutes. All right, so what do the tricyclics do? They block reuptake of serotonin and norepinephrine, leading to increased levels in the synapse. But very problematically, they block acetylcholine receptors. And use of these has been shown to increase dementia. Drugs that block, these are called um, anticholinergic, referring to acetylcholine. Anticholinergic drugs, long term use recently has been getting a real poo poo. They also block histamine. We'll talk about histamine in a minute, but you can't walk around like this. They're also associated with EKG changes, which I'm certainly no expert in, but I can tell you you don't want the electric rhythm of your heart to change. Okay, then came monoamine oxidase inhibitors. Monoamines, you know the ones, catecholamines and indolamines. That's a lot of neurotransmitters to agonize. So even though these are effective, they actually they're just as effective as modern antidepressants, but they do have somewhat more side effects because the more neurotransmitter systems you target, the more side effects you're going to have potentially. And the Prozac revolution started SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Generally, their greatest effect is in slowing the serotonin transporter, thereby mostly selectively boosting serotonin signaling. Just as effective as these, but with far fewer problems. And slightly, in a way, going backwards, to be honest, because these are a little more selective than these. But nevertheless, there was good reason to believe that a subset of patients, especially those that were very down and sleepy and inhibited and slowed down, could really benefit from a drug that boosts serotonin and norepinephrine, but doesn't have these other problems, right? Effexor is I think the main one of this family. Then there's an NRI, norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. Just, uh, well, relatively. See, all of these are relatively, but relatively specifically inhibits reuptake of norepinephrine. I think this is Strattera. Don't hold me to this one. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, and general effectiveness for these is around 60%. 60% get better.